Good morning. Good morning, all the Gold Coast locals. Welcome to our Len and Ridley podcast. It's great to hear the feedback that we got from our first one. It's pretty cool that we've taken a bit of a chance here with doing the podcasts and talking to people and doing that sort of stuff. But the feedback that we've been able to get just from locals, local people in our community, we're up at Main Beach. Are really gathering to it, and it's really cool. So I just like to first of all say thank you to everyone who's given us a heads up and started to follow us on Spotify and Apple Music. Someone said to me, "How do we get the podcast? How do we hear it?" So if you go to the App Store on your phone, just type in podcasts, and a little purple podcasts icon will come up. Once that icon comes up, if you put in search Gold Coast Locals, then you'll see a lovely picture of Ridley and I just appearing on the top of the page. So please, listen to us. We want to have an input into the local community. We've got a guest with us today, Darren Taylor. Darren's running for the Division 10 part of the council, which incorporates Main Beach and Tedder Avenue. We're going to have a bit of a chat with Darren and see where he's at. But I just wanted to say, I want to throw out a little bit of a how you going and keep your chin up. I met a gentleman the other day who has a spinal injury, Bruce. We sat down, had a good chat, and he's like a lot of people I know. When you have diversity in your life, sometimes it's you have highs and lows and difficulties to sort of understand what's going on. And I know I had a good chat with Bruce, who was he's doing it tough, but I just want to say to him, mate, keep your chin up. We're going to keep talking each week and have a bit of a chat. And if there's any other people out there who have these sort of issues and that sort of stuff, as I said, I've had 10 years experience in this. It's not easy, but in saying that, it's not the worst thing that happens. So as I said to Bruce yesterday, it's 10 years, but I can tell you there's, there is life, light, I should say, life and light at the end of the tunnel. Like as I said to him, 2008, I had my spinal injury. I had another one in 12. I had another one in 14. I had a heart attack in 17. I lost my dad in 15. So I've had a few shit years as they've gone along. But there's one thing that I do know, and as I said to Bruce, and that is I've met me. So it's a pretty cool experience. I like me. I'm doing some great things. I'm dealing with the community and talking to people and that sort of stuff, which is, my give back and what I want to do. So, so it's really cool. We've also this week just put out a petition to look at getting CCTV cameras in Main Beach. And I'd just like to thank all of the traders and the community. A few people around the community have helped us out as well. So I'd like to thank all the traders and that sort of thing. It's not very often that, funny enough, everyone gets together and says, that's cool, but everyone's up for this, and we think it's important to create a safe environment for us in Main Beach. Like as we're saying, we've got a lot more people coming in now with the light rail, so that's introduced a lot more people into our community. We've got, obviously, we've got restaurants and bars and that sort of thing here too, so we've got people who are finishing work late at night, so, I think just to hand up and give a little bit more... little bit more comfort to the people of the community, I think, is important as well. So, but anyway, so that's what we've been up to this week. Ridley's been to the vet. He's had his ear sorted out. He's got an ear infection because he thinks there's a dolphin. So, but other than that, he's pretty chilled at the moment. He's not too involved in anything. So what I'd like to do is introduce our guest today. It's Darren Taylor. Darren, as I mentioned before, is running for the Division 10 sector of for the Gold Coast Council election, which is in March. Darren, is it March?
28th of March, yes, about 6-7 weeks away.
Yeah, 28th of March. So, and Division 10 is a bit of a breakup, isn't it? From or a couple of divisions have been dragged in together.
Correct. So Division 10 used to be Broadbeach down to Mermaid and out to Royal Pines, and Division 7 used to be the surface Main Beach section out to Ashmore. They've now not combined, they've split the two divisions, and now the new Division 10 is Broadbeach surface, Main Beach, Isla Capri, Chevron Island, Broadbeach Waters and Sorrento. So it's a big part of our community.
Yeah. Well, you've got a few kilometres to look after there, young man.
There is.
No, that's good. I suppose my first question is how the bloody hell did you get caught up in this? I know your dad's been in the council for quite some years now, but after seeing all the things that he's been through, why did you make this step?
And I have been getting a bit of ribbing from a lot of mates as well. Look, he's been involved 2 terms, and I believe he's done a good job. He's been a community. We've been on the Gold Coast for 40 years as a community. I've been involved with local clubs, whether it's Rotary, played football, from its soccer to AFL. I'm currently the chairman of the Surfers Paradise Football Club, so I understand the challenges of dealing with local government. And I think it was an opportunity for me to put my hand up and say what I believe in. My friends live here on the Gold Coast, particularly around Division 10. I'm passionate. So I thought it's an opportunity. When Dad first stood down, my first reaction was, because of ill health, was no. But when I really sat back, it is an opportunity for me to do what I believe in and support the people that I love.
Cool. Oh, very cool. Very cool. As I said, it's a big step. So can I ask how old you are?
49.
49. Geez, you're a good-looking dude for 49, aren't you? Hey? Mate, so you've grown up on the Gold Coast, obviously.
Yes.
Spent a lot of time and that sort of thing. I think it's, from my perspective, it's important that we have people who have been involved in our community for a long time. They've seen the changes. We've all seen a lot of changes on the Gold Coast. I've lived in Main Beach for going on 25 years, and I've seen a lot of things change. Do you know what I mean? So so I think it's important that we do that. I think we've got our city is definitely in a development stage. We're looking at extending, not that it's in your division, but looking at extending the light rail down to the airport and those sorts of things. So we've got a lot of things happening, on the Gold Coast as it happens. So I suppose your understanding and growing up on the Gold Coast is what sort of things do you remember, and what sort of things have you seen change that you think you might be able to have some influence on going forward?
Yeah, well, I actually went to Broadbeach State School right through to Merrimack High. I've played Broadbeach soccer, Broadbeach AFL, surfers, as I mentioned before, and I've watched the Gold Coast grow, and it's been the community-based organisations that made this city what we are today.
Yeah.
We were a country town. We're not a city like Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, but we're starting to get to a lot bigger size than we were when we were kids. And we've really watched this town grow, or this city grow, and it's been from the community. And I just feel now it's a time that we've come to become such a larger city that we're actually being told what to do, and we've got to reconnect to the community. And there's a lot of good entrepreneurs out there, a lot of creative people from business that's created what we've got on the Gold Coast, and we need to tap into all those people and bring it to the table and bring it to the community. So.
Yeah, look, I'm with you. I believe, we definitely believe we need new blood. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? For want of a better word, but that's what we need. We need people who are going to be keen to work on our community, because we do have a lot of things going on. I know, and I can only speak from the Main Beach sector and part of your division. I talk to a lot of the traders and know a lot of the people around here. And last year we had a flower festival. Years ago we used to have the cars. We had the back in the good old days, as they say, the Indy cars and all that sort of stuff. This place used to hum, absolutely hum. And it's had its years where it's totally, the wheels fell off. I don't think that's any one person's, fault. I think it's just how the progression has gone. I think the light rail is probably introduced. So a lot of people go past Main Beach. Yeah. I know a lot of the traders are really interested in, what we can do to start get our community going again, to get a little bit of life back into Tedder Avenue and get a bit of the feel and the joy that used to be here. I mean, we caught up the other night and said g'day, and as I said, that Friday night, there's a good vibe in our community again. Fantastic. It's been a long time, to waiting for that to come. So I think that, as I said, the new blood with different visions are an extremely important process that that's going to it's going to happen. So
We'd like to. Well, we need to actually bring the locals back too. I really believe that when we grew up, we as locals went to Main Beach, we went to Surface, we went to Chevron Island as a local, and I find a lot of the locals actually aren't coming to these areas again, and we've got to bring them back. If we can't bring our locals back and bring our friends back to our own community, how do we expect the Gold Coast to grow and keep growing as an international tourist strip?
oh, absolutely.
So we need to start at the core area, and we've got to get these communities up and running. And I've spent a bit of time in the last 2-3 weeks, and Tatter Avenue and Main Beach is such a beautiful part of the Gold Coast. I know we've got Broad Beach and Surface, but it's an area that has been forgotten, and I don't think it's for any particular reason. And we need to reinvent and bring the community back and give their own little areas a boost.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. I think a few of the traders, as I mentioned before, some of the comments that I've heard is, like you've got the Blues Festival at Broad Beach, which is a great festival. We go down every year and have a few beers and listen to some tunes. It's a great festival. You've got numerous different things. I think the Sandcastle thing starts in Surface.
Surface, correct.
Yep, that's starting this week. You've got Surface Live, which I think comes on in March sometime.
Yep, correct.
So I think Daryl Braithwaite and those sorts of guys. So there's great things that are going on there for that community. And you're right that hopefully that's going to bring a lot more locals back into the communities just to do those things. And I know some of the traders up this end that sort of go, well,
why can't we?
We miss out. Yeah. And I suppose, like it's funny, back in those days, we used to shut the street off, but everything seems to cost a fortune now. Like I don't know who drives a lot of these costs or how it is, or whether it's done through council or whatever. I'm not sure, but everything seems to cost a fortune. Now, someone said to me it was like $35,000 to shut the street off, and I sort of go like, oh, really? And I think that those sorts of things is what our community is looking for. As I said, we had a flower festival last year that sort of came out of nowhere, and people went, flowers, really? And then when that festival was over on the Monday, everyone was going, holy mackerel, look at that.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Some great.
Exactly. And what it did was bring so many people into our community that didn't even know it was here. Like that.
And I think that's where I really believe councils, it's very important to the community. I mean, we all pay rates, shop owners pay their costs of, particularly if they've got to be on the streets, there's additional costs, and we've got to give back to the community. And I think that's what I'm passionate about, that if we get in there is how can we get the communities going, how can we give back?
Yeah.
And giving back can assist in a lot of these events.
Yeah.
And I really believe, again, Main Beach down here and Chevron Island, it's almost like because we've got Broad Beach and Surface Paradise as the big brother and sister, that the money goes there and it may not be going to the other areas that are just as important as those areas also.
Yeah. Well, I know Chevron's. It's been doing it tough for a while, and there's some great little spots over on Chevron. Some beautiful little parts, I think they've just they opened up the Green Bridge last weekend. So hopefully that'll attract a few more people into Chevron and help with just help with their little community and that sort of stuff. But same. I don't think it's any different for Chevron either. I think Chevron and Tatter are sort of in that same void.
And the security cameras you're talking about, it's very important. I mean, people want to feel safe.
Absolutely.
As you said, the light rail's brought a new dynamic to who's coming to the Gold Coast.
Yep.
And look, it's lighting, it's security, it's the basics that we've all lived and had for a long time that we need to maintain. And I'm sure they're the areas that it shouldn't take much. Security, lighting, and just general cleanliness and making a good environment can turn the wheel.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people who haven't been to Tatter at night time, it's a beautiful,
magnificent.
It's a beautiful little part of the world.
It's fantastic.
So it's funny. You can go and have a holiday anywhere in the world. You come out and you come home and again, it's really doesn't actually get too much better than this, does it?
And it's interesting. I've said recently is we all go around the world, and I think sometimes as a local, we don't actually know what we've got in our backyard. If we were walking, if we were actually a tourist and we walked along the beaches we've got, or the parklands, or the Broadwater, we'd be sitting there saying how magnificent is this, what a great part of the world it is. And I think sometimes we just take it for granted.
Oh, mate, as I said, I ride, Ridley and I ride a push bike each day, pretty much, except when it's like this, when it's pouring down rain.
Yeah. Liquid
And,
sunshine.
Yeah, and we need it. It's nice, but it's funny how many people are saying we should go away already. But yeah, no, we ride along the beach every day, and seriously, we've got some of the most beautiful beaches and that in the world, and we're so lucky that council has done things like the bike paths and those sorts, and spent the money, which I think is in a really really cool. Opportunity to get people out there. Like you said, locals can come down, go to the beach. They can go for a walk on the beach. And it's funny, we were talking last week about the bike paths and bloody electric scooters on the bike paths, and how bloody scares me. That seriously, how someone doesn't get killed. But it's opened up the opportunity for businesses to to do that and all that sort of thing. So I think that's really cool. So some of the visions and that council has are really good. I suppose, from your perspective, what are visions that you see to enhance the communities? And I'm not just talking about Main Beach. I'm talking about your division.
Yeah. Well, we really need to like you're saying, we're an active society. Gold Coast is known to be, we're an active and a great lifestyle. So we need to make sure that we're maintaining and improving a lot of our green space and parks and activities. Again, we are a city that is growing, so we've got to ensure that we keep those facilities growing with the rate of the growth of the city, and that includes your sporting organisations. I've noticed a lot of them are struggling to. We've got more numbers, but we haven't got enough green space to actually train and play, and so they're all the challenges that we need to be challenging it. I think we've got to start thinking a little bit differently. We've gone through our growth of a lot of high rises going up. We've created a great skyline, but there's got to be our infrastructures. We've really got to start thinking about our infrastructures, and it may be at state level, federal level, but this discussion's got to start at ground level. If we can't, as I said earlier, if we can't as locals get around and enjoy what we've got or bring our guests, how do we expect others to do that? So infrastructure is a big thing that we do need to keep talking about and start thinking how we're going to be in another 15, 20 years. Yeah,
well, I mean, I know, thank God I ride a push bike, because trying to get a car spot is a nightmare.
Yes.
It's a nightmare. It seriously is. And for our communities like Surface, for example, where you've got businesses and that sort of stuff, just having the car parks and being able to find a car park is, can be its own little
and affordability. How can people actually go and dine somewhere and without having to have a cost factor of actually dining as well as parking? So, we've got to really start thinking the big picture when we actually whenever we create something, we've got to actually think of the infrastructure part of how it's going to work. Even for events and functions, we can create a great function and event here, but how would the local city work with the community to actually assist with parking for events? We've got to be really thinking of right outside the square of all those areas.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm digressing from local council a little bit, but I know the other day you and I were having a bit of a chat, and I sort of said to you, I don't know why we didn't just dig a tunnel.
Yeah.
Well,
I've got big visions. I've got great ideas of that, and some people quite say I'm silly, but look, you've got to have those visions. Look, all the major cities have got tunnels now, and you might start the conversation now, and it might take 15, 20 years, but we've got to be forward thinking. We've got to be progressive, and we've got to have the community involved in those discussions. So.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think one of the important things that I see, and I look at not only our local government, but let's say politicians and government over Australia, I think we have become a reactive government. We have, things happen. Like we can use our bushfires, for example. We can use those that terrible experience that many people in Australia have just experienced. And you have a look at that and you sort of go, could we have been proactive?
Yep.
Are there things that we could have done to be able to do this? And I just think that in a lot of our governments and that sort of stuff, and it's lot of people will say, some people just get into government so they can get a pension and get looked after later on in life and all that sort of stuff. But as I said, like I've come to talk to you a few times now, and we've had our discussions about things that you see, and as I said, I do believe that we need new blood, but I also think that we need to have proactive people. People who are going to push the buttons a little bit, and people who are going to make questions get answered instead of like I know different things. Someone said to me yesterday about we've got 3 associations in Main Beach now. So these 3 associations are all vying for funding from council. So that's cool. That's no problem. But, is there a process that they've got to go through that tells them or is made public as to what they actually do with the money that they get from council, and how does council overview that to understand exactly where it's going, and are we getting our best stuff out of it?
And I suppose the challenge, if I got elected, is actually understanding what all the groups actually are needing. I find a lot of times they're actually all got similar goals. They've just got different pathways to get there.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of trying to bring the community together to actually achieve that. And sometimes when you feel like you've left behind, people are all doing it for the right reasons. It's just that because they're not seeing anything happen, it's a frustration. So I think people go in different directions. But the common thing I'm hearing out there is that there are similar goals that they're all aiming for. So it's a matter of harnessing it and bringing us together and let's start achieving things.
Let's get some runs on the board.
And here I am. I'm going to politics, but the big thing with politics is it's hard to say, but we've got to be focused on what we want as a community, and you've got to have a broad view of how we get there. So there's different areas, there's different political factions, but again, it's no different to the community having different organisations out there. We've got to ensure that whoever's elected are doing it for the right reasons, and they make the decisions based on the community or the area or the city or the nation that they're representing. I think that's why I was passionate about, why you asked me early, why am I doing this? And half of me goes, why are you doing it? But it's because I'm passionate about this type of stuff. And I thought to myself, well, it's an opportunity to have a go. And if I can make a little difference, fantastic.
Yeah, beautiful. Because you actually have a very successful business on the Gold Coast.
We do, yes.
Family. So how does business and politics fit in together? You've got the plan sorted out for all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. A father's already in politics. Obviously, I work with Dad, and now my boys work with me. The interesting discussions Dad and I used to have, the arguments, are the same ones I'm having with my son, but the other way around now, because you know everything when you're younger. But look, we've got a great family. We're all there for each other. So the boys are doing a great job. The team, we've got a great team of guys at the company. And look, again, it's like a community. It's a family. You work together. You make decisions together. And I've been given the support of the family, and which was the most important thing. And look, join the challenges. I totally agree with you. You've got to have the support of the close friends and family, obviously, to be able to do it, because it does take a lot of time. It does.
It takes up a lot of time, as you're finding out. I mean, you've always got something on, as I just mentioned to you before. You said, I don't mind having a beer, which is cool, but I've already got something to do in the morning. So,
exactly.
So you've got to back up. You've got to keep it going.
Oh, look, it's been fantastic. We're meeting some amazing people out here. I mean, that's one thing. It reinforces the great city and the great people we've got around here.
Yep.
It's, as I said, one person that said to me, why are you worried about this area? It's such a big division. And as I said, my friends live here. I get passionate. I get goosebumps to think that I can help, if I did get elected, that I can actually help them create the community that we've all had. So we've grown up with them. So
no, that's cool. I know one of the things that's always interested me, and you did talk about it just a little bit earlier on, about high rises and Main Beach, and we've seen in the last 20 years, we've seen a lot of high rises go up in Main Beach, and there's still applications in for more. A couple of interesting concepts now. I see where they're going to park the car on each level is going to have a garage on each level. That's that's an interesting concept. So be interesting to see how that works. But one of the things that we talked about before was we see them build high rises. We see them build more and more and more. The roads aren't getting any bigger. I don't know that our sewage pipes are getting any bigger. I don't know that our water pipes are getting any bigger. Our infrastructure and those sorts of things, at what stage, do you think that, we need to start looking at these things? I know when they put the trams in, the light rail, I mean, it devastated Southport and those sorts of things for nearly 2 years.
Yes.
It's just starting to sort of get some legs again now, Southport, and coming back. But, they didn't even know what they were digging up.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So we have got no idea what we've got there.
That's right.
And off we go and do those sorts of things. So, I think infrastructure is an important thing that we maybe don't spend enough time and that sort of stuff, thinking about. And like we talked about car parks and all those sorts of things as well. Where does the Gold Coast, especially this end of the Gold Coast, when do we stop building 115-story high buildings? When do we stop doing that?
And look, this is when I talk about infrastructure, I'm not against development. I'm not anti-builders, developers. They've been part of the process of building this city, but I think we're at the stage now that we just can't put them up for the sake of it without thinking about infrastructure and a serious plan moving forward.
Yeah.
The light rail. Look, it's been great for where it's got so far. A lot of people did hurt during that process, and we really need to understand whenever we do any improvements of infrastructure, we need to understand what the downsides of it, and there's always going to be a downside. But it's important that we just don't start putting high-rises up because the sake of putting them up, because we understand there's work going to come out of it, but at the end of the day, if we can't get round as a community, as I come back to the very beginning, and we can't bring our fans around, or people come to our city and can't enjoy what we've got, I don't think it's going to be any benefit for the Gold Coast, and particularly Division 10.
Yeah. I know there was talk because once the light rail was put in, I believe that some developers, not necessarily developers, I think it was some of the bigger building companies sort of put it in there that they went to overrode the local council government and used state law to go, if you're within, I think it's 800 metres of a tram stop or a public transport station or stop or something like that, they give them unlimited height, which is what they've done in Brisbane.
Yep.
They put buildings up, to just go, yep, okay, we can do it. And I think that was, I think there was a few people I know around here, because I heard quite a few discussions about different buildings that were actually contacted by bigger companies and talking to them about we've got this, we've got that, and we can do this, and we can pretty much sell them all before they come and that sort of thing. And my first thought was we can build 110 stories, you can do all that sort of stuff, but man, what are we going to do with the cars?
Where are you going to park? And I think that's the thing that I've noticed over the years is how many car parks are we actually creating with each building that's going up.
Yep.
And it doesn't take long to do a little study yourself to work out how many people actually have cars these days. And we are car-based at the moment. And I know there's been a discussion that we need to become more public transport based, but I don't see a public transport system like we're talking major cities around the world.
Yeah.
Yes, we've got a tram that's running through the Gold Coast, and I think it's been fantastic. But what we call, if they want us to actually become using public transport, we need to be serious about what is the look and the vision of public transport.
Yeah.
If not, what is that? How we're going to upgrade our road systems, and we're going to have to think outside the square, and we're going to start refocusing on how that's going to look. But at council level, we're going to have to get a bit stronger than just putting high rises up with no car parks at this point, because we're clogged up as it is. Yeah,
as I said, I think the light rail's been a great asset to especially up this end of the coast. You can get around. You can use the light rail. It's handy. It's easy. I've also seen it like when you have your functions at your Broadbeach, the Blues Festival and that sort of stuff, where they're lined up to try and get on the tram. You just can't fit any more people on.
Yes.
So, excuse me. So there's all those sorts of things too. That you throw in. But I think from that perspective, I think the tram has been a great introduction to get people around the Gold Coast and make it easier. I don't know what it's like. Is there parking stations at the trams, or where you jump on the train. I have no idea.
And that's still a challenge as well.
Yeah.
Where like if anyone that does come to like if you live around the area, it's great. So if the high rise is jumping in and shooting back and down, but if other people want to come down to, say you live at Carrara and you've got to come to Surfers Paradise or Main Beach or Broad Beach, where do you park?
Exactly, yeah.
So, and then if you are going to travel on the tram from Broad Beach, again, where do you park?
Yep.
Okay, so and a lot of these, your Pacific fares and your parking are all becoming chargeable, and it's becoming expensive, like the major cities.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, and as you say, like, and you've got your tourism entity, which was probably our biggest cash driver. I think one of the things that we were talking about the other day was our experience with things like the Ridley's just moving around. Our experience with the Com Games last year.
Exactly.
And how I think, not saying that local government did, but I think our state government scared everyone away. And which made it really difficult for a lot of the traders in your precinct.
And that's why I'm really coming back to us selling our city to ourselves just as much as outside the city.
Yep.
I find a lot of times we're so focused on everyone coming into our city and we're forgetting about the locals, and we are the heart of the city.
Yep.
And the Commonwealth Games was a perfect example of basically telling the locals that you can't get around, you may as well not be here, leave the town. Everyone's coming, and a lot of people were hurt, and that just really emphasised the fact of local community, how important they are to a city like ourselves. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know a lot of the traders that you'll talk to around here, they when sort of Easter's over, it's you need the locals. Correct.
You have to have the locals coming into your area because your tourism's in. You might have school holidays for a couple of months in July in July or June, whenever.
June, July,
yeah. So you'll have school holidays there, but other than that, what we're relying on people like the Chinese, which at this point in time
can't come here.
No, can't come here. No. So and so that's going to have a big shock to our community and
Correct.
our tourism for the Gold Coast and that sort of stuff as well.
And local business, and that's
yeah. So
that's
yeah, so I know I agree with you wholeheartedly there. I do think that it's important that our elections, we do get new people in who are keen on getting the community back into the community and having people come into Tedder and having people come into Broad Beach and Surface and those sorts of things. As I said, look, I'm lucky I go to Surface every day, ride along the beach and do that sort of stuff. And I've seen Surface change dramatically. Ridley and I go in there and have lunch and that sort of stuff on the weekend and do that sort of thing. And I still see that there's more opportunity for people to get out in Surface and to do it. It's a beautiful little place. And as I said, and council spent a lot of money on trying to upgrade it and make it look the part and all that sort of thing. But it has its night issues and that sort of stuff. Which
look, the city's grown to what it is today, and a lot of people have done a lot of good work. So we're not here to say that anyone's done wrong or right. I just think we're at the stage now that good chance to really have a look at what we're doing and what's our vision and what is our focus moving forward. And, I think we're at that crossroad now where we can really have a good look at it. And as I said, like you mentioned earlier, be forward thinking, not backwards thinking.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, proactive instead of reactive. So,
correct.
So then, okay, let's say 4 years' time. How long's council elections for? 3 or 4
years.
4 years. 4 years. So 4 years' time, what's Darren saying?
Oh, look, I'm hoping that I can work closely with the locals. Let's say Main Beach and Tedder as a whole. I'd love to be here working with the groups and plotting what they actually like. How would they like to see their town, and what do they need as a support for their area?
Yep.
And then how can we contribute? And as I said to a group not long ago, we're going to have our big picture, which could be a 10, 15 year plan because of costs. You can have a nice big forward thinking, but then we're going to have our small things that we can tick off. Let's say security, let's say our lighting, let's get some vents going. So 4 years isn't long these days, but look, I don't think there's going to take a lot to actually implement, as I said, your security, your safety, your lighting, and creating a bit of a community environment.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I'm interested in, As I said, one of the reasons that we started to do this podcast is so we can talk to like smaller businesses around the Gold Coast. Like as I said, who are the best 5 mechanics on the Gold Coast, and then getting them in here and having a chat with them and actually opening up the community so people actually know, like, where can I go? Who is this guy? And I've heard you on the podcast, and so they know a little bit about them and help develop the business and help develop their business, but also help develop the Gold Coast as a community. As you said, I remember years ago everyone used to say it's like a little old country town.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's not anymore.
No.
It's changed a lot. And, I remember you used to be able to drive down to Broadbeach in 6 or 7 minutes, and it's not like that anymore.
No.
So things have changed, and which is good. I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong. But I do think that we need to, introduce new people who are going to have a perspective on what do we have now, how do we make what we've got better, and and as you said, like, improve the community's opportunity to come out and actually enjoy our lifestyle. Our beaches, all the different things that go on. So,
and I don't think the people haven't changed over the years. The Gold Coast has always been country at heart. I mean, you still find the country at heart attitude around the place.
Absolutely.
But we're caught between a country town that's in a city now, and it's happened pretty quickly, really.
Oh, it has. Oh, most definitely. Like it's funny. I remember used to go to Sydney and Melbourne for work, and I'd have a suit on but no tie, and they used to say, "Oh, so that's the Gold Coast suit, isn't it?"
Yeah,
yeah. That's as good as it gets, mate. And sometimes there's no jacket either. So but as I said, like you see, there's a lot more professional businesses and that sort of stuff coming to the coast. There's a lot of businesses on the Gold Coast people wouldn't even know about.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So
we're very diverse.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I know in the industry that I've been involved in over a number of years, some of the things that we've been able to create with people on the Gold Coast has been fantastic. And so I think it's really important that we do try and tie that into the community, try and get everyone back into the going again. And so I'm really happy that you're putting your foot in the water.
Yeah, no, it's been really, really rewarding actually, getting out there, meeting good people. As I said, at the end of the day, whether I get in or don't get in, I'm going to learn new skills. But I've met some amazing people even in the first 3-4 weeks of campaign. I've been enjoying it, so it's been great.
Yep. I think people should also understand that you haven't been searching for funding.
No, self-funding. Look, if I'm going to go into this, I don't want to have any ties with anyone. That I'm doing it for the community. I love the place. It's not about taking favours. When you get a job, if you get a job like this, you've got to do it for the right reasons. There's going to be times you make tough decisions, whether they're friends or not friends. That's just a business environment, but we've got to ensure that that I'm not feeling tied down with some concern that I did know someone or was involved with some sort of funding side. So it's been very important. I think that's what the old old man did. He never took anything. He never wanted to be in that position. And so I'm going to self-fund. We're going to sell as a family, I should say. Family, I should say.
No, cool. Yeah, I know, because it's the rules are very strict now, aren't they? Depending on who you talk to, and who gives you funding, and who gives this and who gives that, and all that sort of thing.
It's a bit of a challenge. I'm trying to talk to everyone, but at the same time, people are saying, "Don't talk to him because you're not allowed to talk to him." I'm going, "Hang on, I'm trying to get a view for it from whether it's a developer, whether it's the guy running down the road, or whatever." So it is very tight. But look, there's obviously reasons why it came in over the years. So we work with what we've got at the moment and do the best we can. So.
Yeah. And I think it's important, like you just said then, that you do talk to everyone.
Yep.
Like the dude in the street and, the guy in the suit, because it is that we do have a diverse community, and it's important that we, that everyone gets to have a say and do that. I think it's one of the most important things that I say to my young fellas all the time, and a lot of young people who I meet, and that is you've got to vote.
Yep.
If you want to make a difference, you've got to vote. And I think it's important that, like candidates like yourself are out there talking to as many different, sectors of the community that you can.
Look, to me, there's no such thing as this group's better than the other, or someone's larger than someone else. I went down to there's a local puppet venue just on the where the pits go in.
On Macintosh
Island.
Yep.
and met Phil there, and first thing he said to me, I know we're only just a small little organisation. I said, you're just as big as anyone else.
Yep.
What he's providing is a service for the kids. He's providing money back to the Gold Coast Hospital.
Yep.
I don't see any difference to an organisation having 200 or 300 people doing the same thing.
Yep.
You've still got the same thing. They're providing a service. They're volunteers.
Yep.
They're passionate. They're there. So the moment you start saying someone's bigger than someone else, I think you lose a full perspective of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I think in the past we've had people who have represented us who have been inside the council sector for a number of years, and I think that a lot of people sort of looked and they went, well, what are they actually doing for us? What are they doing? Because I don't. It's funny. I've had experiences where something's gone on in Main Beach and I had no idea it was going on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you go, well, how do they do this? I mean, I haven't done Facebook before, so you go, it was on Facebook. And I go, well, so what if you don't do Facebook? What other things? I mean, I do Instagram and those sorts of things. So I can follow the Gold Coast Council and follow Gold Coast City and all that sort of stuff on Instagram. So you see all these different things that are coming up. But it's quite interesting. I just don't think that the people who have been involved have expressed, or not expressed, but have gone out into the community through a number of different platforms to be able to let people know what's actually going on.
And I suppose for me, how I see it is, we could talk about my family, my parents' generation through to our kids, and it's a very diverse and a big gap between the different genders. And you may have some young people that's got some great ideas, but they may forget about the older generation. Yeah. And look what they've brought to the table over the years. They've done a great job for where they are. We as a generation, with kids, we're at a stage now that we're between the two generations, and we've got to be broad thinking. We've got to be understanding there's an older generation, there's a younger generation, and there's our generation, and how do we keep everyone involved? And no different to what you're saying there at the community base, we've got to understand who we're dealing with out there as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All righty. How you feeling, big fella, all right?
Thank you, Lenny. I've really enjoyed it. First time, so I've really enjoyed it.
No, I really appreciate your time to come in and just have a chat. And as I said, I think it's important that people get the opportunity to meet who you are.
Thank you.
Rather than, what other people can tell and that sort of stuff. So,
and it's important for me. My father was 6 years in council, and I want people to know who I actually am.
Yep. Here comes the fun police.
Yeah.
What's the time, mate? Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Yep.
His wind is up.
Time's up. Yep. He comes in and winds us up. Yeah. The producer Ridley has just walked into and is just going, right over, folks. That's it. So, look, I really
appreciate it, Lenny.
No, I really want to thank you, Darren, for coming in and having a chat and opening up a little bit and letting people know about who you are and what you're about and that sort of thing.
Thank you.
I wish you all the luck in the world. I do think that you're on top of the scale from my perspective. As I said, I've met you a couple of times now and seen you out and about in the community talking to different people, and I think that's important that's how we're represented as the community. So, so I'm wishing you the best, and mate,
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem. Have a great day, and that's us. So thank you guys for listening to podcast with Darren Taylor. And, we look forward to catching up with everyone and seeing everyone soon. So from Ridley and I, have a great day. Cheers.